Lizzie Waterworth here, aka BAFTA nominated voice actor in cartoons. Welcome to my latest video, which I'm calling my top 10 tips for getting into voiceovers. I'm doing this because I've been a bit inundated recently with questions from people asking me, how do you get into voice acting? What skills do you need? Just some advice or tips on just where to get started if you're not already working in this industry. So I've been doing voice acting now for 17 years, doing lots of different cartoon shows, video games, audio dramas, etc. You might know me as the voice of Horrid Henry, where I play the role of Horrid Henry, which I've been doing for 14 years now, and he's still going strong. So let's get on with our top tips. They're very much an overview. I'm sure I'll expand on some in future videos. If you like the sound of this, then please subscribe so you don't miss out on any other videos, and do write in the comments. I read all of them, and in fact I must say hi to Charlie, who wrote in the comments in my last video, Lizzie, if you could be any animated character in a remake of a series, what would it be? And I would choose the Raggy Dolls. It was a show I loved watching growing up, and I'd love a remake of that, and then to give them all voices. My favourite was Sad Sack. And a big shout out to Emily, who asked me what my favourite Horrid Henry episode is. It's a hard one because we've recorded like 250, but I like the ones where he's with Peter and Mum and Dad at home. I love the at home ones because it's just so real life scenario. But I also really like the one where he's king. Well, I'm king. I think that has to be one of my favourites. Tip number 1. Work out what your own voice strengths are. Now this may sound obvious, but if you think of voiceovers being a huge umbrella of loads and loads of different types of work. So for example, does your voice lend itself well to perhaps reading audiobooks? So listen to the gentle tone. Robert Kincaid was a magician of sorts who lived with himself in strange places. That very, very subtle tone. That's very different from, say, doing character voices for video games or cartoons, where your voice is kind of all over the place, and sometimes you're down there, and sometimes you're playing animals, and all those different kinds of voices. So that's a different kind of voice style. Or perhaps your voice might be more suited to, say, commercials or promos. So stay with us, because after the break, we're going to be looking at what Max and Katie did. See that up and slightly up and down? It's very commercial, and you do a lot of promo work with that voice. So it's not to say that you can't do all of these voices throughout your career, but it's unlikely that you will always get every single job for every single voice. So the key is pinning down and working out what you are good at, which brings me on to tip number 2. Number 2, start listening to all the voices around you. What do I mean by that? Next time you listen to, say, an audiobook, really tune in to how the reader is speaking. Is she speaking softly, harshly? Is she fast, slow? Why do you think she or he was chosen to read that particular book? Equally, when you're watching cartoons, try and really think about the voices of the characters. So why do you think the casting director chose that particular person to play a character? Do the characters mesh well together? How would you have voiced that character? Would you have done it differently? Would you have put your own spin on it? So start thinking about these questions, and this will just subconsciously help you gain insight into how voices are chosen for specific jobs. Number 3, get yourself out there. If you don't have any experience of voice acting, start getting experience of, say, reading in front of other people you trust. Join a stand-up comedy organisation online. Join an online drama group. There are plenty of resources out there, but you need to get experience of performing in front of other people and messing up in front of people. Because not only will this help gain your confidence, but it'll also help you to learn to do things better perhaps. Perhaps you can ask them, how did I do? Could I have done that differently? So by the time you get into a voice booth, when you've got a client there, sound engineer there, and you're waiting and you get thrown play a sheep, you're not freezing because you don't know how to play a sheep. You're relaxed, you're used to doing this, and you're comfortable in your own skin, and you have to laugh at yourself as well. So get yourself out there, do as much as you can to perform if you're not working. Tip number 4, try and get some professional experience if you can. Now, generally, to get professional work, you need a voiceover agent. But to get a voiceover agent, you generally need to have done professional work. So it's a bit of a catch-22. So if you're just at that early stage, and bear in mind this is a hugely competitive industry, you might want to consider just getting some experience, perhaps even unpaid if it's just to get you through that door, to get you through an agent's door. So you can find different opportunities on things like Casting Call, online, or LinkedIn sometimes do unpaid opportunities for people just trying to get their foot in the door. But do try and get some kind of experience because that will really help you to get an agent. And once you get an agent, it's easier to get jobs, in my experience. Tip number 5, get yourself a showreel. By this, I mean a recording of you doing about, say, 10 to 12 clips of voices that you are really good at and that you know you can nail. Don't try and do 20 voices that aren't great. Do the ones, even if it means less voices, that you are really good at, because this recording will then go to the agents that you're going to send it to, and then hopefully you get a call from one of them saying, yeah, we'll take you on, we loved your showreel. Now, my advice would be to go onto voiceover agents' websites and listen to clips of artists that they've got on their books, and not because you're going to copy them, but focus on what you can do, what makes you stand out from the other voiceover artists, what's going to get you the jobs. So you can get your showreel done professionally. I really recommend that if you can. It can get expensive, but this is your one shot to do a really amazing job of showing off your voice. You can even write your own scripts if you haven't got professional experience. That's what I did 17 years ago. I sat and wrote some little scripts and then recorded them. But yeah, get your showreel. Don't rush it. You want it to be your best work and to show you off as best as you can. Tip number 6, be prepared. So you've just had the call, you've got your first audition, yay! You've been sent a script and a character brief which tells you all about the character that you're going to be going up for. Don't just prepare what is written on that brief, because by the time you get to the audition, the casting director might have decided to change the character style completely. So you might go in there, as I've had experience, expecting to do, say, a 10-year-old girl with a British accent, and you go in and then you're asked to do a 20-year-old woman with, say, a Australian accent. So you just never know what's going to be thrown at you in the studio. So always go in with a few voices up your sleeve, different age ranges, different styles, different tones, just to cover yourself so you're not completely thrown when you get into the audition. Tip number 7, accept that rejection is just part of this job. You will not get every single job that you audition for in your whole career. It just doesn't happen. I have yet to meet a voice actor who's had every single job they've gone for in their whole life. In the same way, A-list Hollywood actors lose out to jobs to other actors that they wanted. So it's just part of the acting world. Now, when you get rejected or do not get the job you wanted, it's easy to lose your confidence, to start thinking, oh, I can't do this, I'm not as good as such and such, I should stop doing this. Don't let that happen. The quicker you can accept that you may not have got that part because of nothing to do with your talent or creativity, your voice just was not right for that project. And as soon as you can learn that, it makes it so much easier as you carry on through your career to get used to that rejection, and just to remember that you are unique, and there is the right job out there for you. It just wasn't that one. Tip number 9, be unique. Do what you do best. When you're in a voice booth, don't try and copy other actors. Do what you do. You may have used a voice for an audition in the past and not got the job and feel like you can't use that voice again because it was rubbish or you got a bad reaction for it. But you never know, you might use that voice in another job down the line and it might be perfect for it. So don't discount voices just because you've had a bad experience of an audition. Don't lose your confidence. You've just got to get rid of that rejection, in the words of Taylor Swift, shake it off and get on to the next thing. But make sure you do it in your unique way. And my final tip number 10, is to persevere with this. As I mentioned earlier, it is a hugely competitive industry, and be under no illusion that for every job you go for, there are going to be a lot of other actors also going for that job. But if you know you've got the skills, you know you've got the talent, you've got your voices nailed, you're practicing your voices constantly, doing your breathing exercises, got your show reel together, you've done a job, you get your agent, then everything will become hopefully a little bit easier. But enjoy it, and I can promise you, if you make it, it is a great job. In my next video, I'm going to be doing something so fun. I'm going to be doing an A to Z of crazy cartoon voices. So some of them will be shows that I've done, some of them will be impressions, but it'll be fun. So join me for that. So like, subscribe, and I will see you on the next video. Until then, take care, stay safe, stay creative. Bye for now.